This is the Art Beauty Podcast where we tell the real truth about the fake shit. Hi, everybody. I'm Amber, and today my fabulous co-host is Mar Soraparu. She is the Chief Wellness Officer at BIÅN, which is, I believe, the first total concierge wellness location located in Chicago. I have not been yet, but I'm dying to get out there. It looks amazing. And we're going to talk a little bit about that later in the show. Mar, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So now you are based in Chicago, that I'm assuming.
Yeah, right in Chicago. I live about 2 miles from here, not even. So it's a great commute.
I have to say, Chicago is one of the most beautiful cities I've been. I've only been in the summer, though. And I asked everybody there, I'm like, how bad are the winters really?
Yeah, they're not great, but yeah, I would only visit if you're not here in the summer or the holidays are nice, but January through about May, that's why the club is nice because it actually feels nice and kind of warm atmosphere. But Chicago's it's a tough winter place. I'll say that.
I mean, so I was going to say that not one person said, no, it's fine. Everybody said exactly what you did. So that was the beginning and the end of my, thoughts on moving to Chicago.
Yeah, yeah, agree with that entirely.
So you have had also like a very interesting, history that has led you, I'm going to let you tell us sort of what led you up to, you're now the chief wellness officer at BIÅN, a certified yoga instructor, but that's not necessarily how your journey started. Can you tell us
No.
a little bit about your path?
I mean, it's so funny how it all comes full circle, but I'll start in college. I was a sociology major. I did originally want to go for musical theater. So I've always been interested in the arts, and I loved California. So thought I wanted to go into production, graduated, decided I didn't want to work at in the industry anymore. I had done some stuff throughout college. And got into finance. And I think it kept me there because it was very interesting. It really worked on a different side of my brain outside of being creative, but very much more intellectual. And I was learning a ton. And in that stage of my life, it was really interesting. But I started to kind of abandon the creativity in my life,
Yeah.
and it started to kind of take a toll. So I ended up finding yoga. Actually, I would go to Equinox in Santa Monica and I took the most incredible class. I remember it today, walking in there and being just completely overwhelmed by the experience. Um, the community of it, how I felt after was so different than I felt in the beginning. And that's how my yoga journey started is through stress relief. And then, just long story short, it got me through the rest of my time in financial services. I moved back to Chicago. And then I started realizing that I've always been entrepreneurial. I'd love to bring this to different companies. So I started my own business, started doing one on one work, developed into the coaching, life coaching, started consulting with different businesses on how to help them improve the well being of their staff or their people or their clients. And then one of my clients became my business partner and his two other friends. And then we birthed BIÅN. And that's where I'm now.
I love that. And now, what exactly in the financial world? It's pretty broad. Were you working in like trading or?
My end of my career was in alternatives. So I ended up going through, it was more of a family office side of a company.
Okay.
So I was going down the route of family office, alternatives, investments. But it started more in marketing.
Got it. But no matter what it is, it's all stressful.
It was pretty stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I mean,
was.
everybody I know who works in finance is like, high stress job.
It is. And it was a big company. And I think it grips you a little bit. And then if you're more of a creative person anyway, it was already a learning curve for me.
Right.
So I knew I was not in the right place, but it was very rewarding. Learned a lot.
I mean, it's great. And like you said, you put your creative side, but you were really putting that analytical muscle to the test, which is, everything. I think what I loved about what you said is that, you never know. Everything kind of comes full circle. And at some
Mhm.
point, what you did here will make sense for where you end up. So
Exactly.
now here you are at this very beautiful, concierge wellness location, if we shall call it that, right? Because it looks like a spa, but it's more than a spa.
We say that it's the hardest elevator pitch of who we are, but essentially we're just a private club for your well-being, and we house so many different ways of how to serve that. And we really customize it to each person.
Right.
But yeah, it's all about for you.
I love it. It's like the ultimate in concierge wellness, medicine, health. We wanted to talk to you today because I feel like, speaking of your yoga journey, so
Mhm.
many people, when they think about yoga, really associate it with, being fit, being flexible, also, having sort of some mental benefits. But I don't think so many of us really take into account how it affects our skin.
Mhm.
And I know, so I do hot yoga, and hot
Yeah,
yoga definitely has a great effect on your skin.
exactly.
But I thought it was really interesting, that there is sort of this correlation between, yoga and your skin. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that there's a few ways that it does improve skin. And I think one, hot yoga for sure. It's not only it, we have an infrared studio, so infrared heat, it permeates through just the environment. It gets into the layers of the skin, so it's actually healing the skin.
Right.
Sweating helps to replenish old skin cells and get more like fresh, vibrant skin going. So aside from like the heated environments, I would say in yoga, different poses that bring fresh blood flow to the face. It's not common if you're not practicing yoga that you're going upside down in your life, or you're putting your head below your heart very often, just to get more blood flow to the face, which obviously is going to wake up, your eyes and your cheeks and get more of that rosy glow going, and just kind of wakes up the face. So I would say, there's different poses for that specifically. And then there is, like you said, that mental side of it. What yoga does is so far beyond just the physical, but when you're breathing in those different ways, in those deeper ways, different levels, you're much more prone to making really positive life choices, from more hydration to better nutritional choices, less stress. I just had a conversation earlier today with somebody who said, they took a little bit of a break from what they were doing in their career. It was a bunch of different moving parts, and nothing else changed other than taking a break from that. They did the same routine nutritionally, same routine. They did yoga, some bar, and she said that she visibly appeared differently just due to the lower stress that she was enduring. So, yoga directly contributes to lowering stress. So,
Right.
stress within the body will wreak havoc on things such as your skin. So, yoga really does a big job in multiple ways.
I love that. And it's so funny. We always think, I think everybody can relate to seeing what a president looks like when they go in office and how they look when they come out. So seriously, stress it has a direct aging effect on our, minds, bodies, and probably souls too. Um,
Yeah. And you see it immediately too. Like, I've taught a class where people come in and it's just like, "Argh." And then you see them after, they could be a different person on a different day. It starts from within. When you feel better, your skin looks better and you make better choices.
you make such a good point too. Like you're never upside down in your life.
No. I mean, maybe if you're on a roller coaster, but that's not very long.
Right.
Unless it's in, you're a dancer or something, there's really no other big reason why you're upside down, unless
Right.
you're practicing yoga or something.
And that makes so much sense. So we're bringing that fresh oxygenated blood literally into our faces. You mentioned also the breathing, like, are there certain breath techniques that we can, take sort of from this podcast, or things that we can do at home that, can help sort of drive that oxygenated blood where we want it to go?
Yes, there's so many. I think first off, there's a lot of people on their computers doing Zoom meetings, Zoom calls, even just texting. So if I were to grab my phone and you're looking down, you can't breathe from your diaphragm. You can't breathe from your belly because you're kind of just chest breathing. So you notice this by the first time you actually take a conscious breath or you physiologically sit up to actually breathe more. You're not collapsing in your lungs. So breath practices can just start essentially from sitting up a little taller and focusing on your belly going not just forward and essentially back, but you want it to go out. So you want it to be like a balloon that goes like this and then it funnels up into the chest. So a lot of people do what's called a belly diaphragm then chest breath. So it's kind of like a three parts.
Okay.
But the easiest thing is just to think about your belly blowing up like a balloon, and you take a deeper breath and you're like, I don't think I've breathed like that in a year, and you feel amazing.
I mean, I don't know if it for, for a year, but certainly, I mean, at least in 48 hours, have I not taken a big deep breath? Isn't that incredible? And
It's
immediately you start to like, you can feel like some of the weight walking off, like coming off your shoulders. In terms of these poses that are going to get us upside down, are there any that you kind of recommend to, you know, that maybe are having a better benefit on our skin?
I would say even thinking not even going upside down, but something like a child's pose, which is relatively it's relatively accessible to anybody. You just put your head on the ground, your arms are out, your knees are butterflied, and you're just kind of resting your chest down, but your head is below your heart in that scenario, which is going to increase that. I would say child's pose is always a really great option. Down dog is also a really accessible one. It feels good everywhere. Hamstrings, back, your head is definitely below your heart here, and you're getting all the blood flow there. So the key would be to stay there a little bit longer, but not too long, but just enough, and to not hold stress in your face, but to let the whole face just kind of, when you feel the blood flow going to your face, just let it be there. Let the cheeks kind of feel like they're filling up. And then when you come up, you're going to feel and see a difference. So I would say those two are the easiest ones. And then, of course, there's, handstands and dolphin and all sorts of other ways to increase and progress a practice. But those two would be easy things that you can do real fast too.
Amazing. While we're here and while, you are one of the founders of BIAN, I would love to talk a little bit more about what it is that's happening at this club, and do you see this as sort of the future of are we going to see other types of BIAN clubs popping up worldwide?
I say absolutely yes. It's all connected. So, what we really did was a private club for your well being that addresses everything from physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and even environmental, just with how we set up the space. But it is connecting all of these different industries that typically are disjointed and separate. So, the typical person who's going somewhere for a massage has a different doctor, and they also see someone for acupuncture. They could be getting told multiple different things. Here, we have everyone working together. So it's somewhat of an integrative practice, which is definitely popping up all over the place, but we really expand it to everything. So we have everything from executive and life coaching, concierge medical, spa, fitness and personal trainers, all of your boutique fitness. We have infrared sauna, locker rooms with a cold plunge. We have Ayurvedic programming, mental health, deep nutritional services served by a naturopathic doctor. So we actually have 5 doctors on staff that all are collaborating and working together. And this really is just the surface of it. And something that's interesting that I really love that we do is every member gets an advisor. So that's someone, I'm actually one of them and one of my partners, and we sit down with every single member and understand where essentially what's working and what needs work and how we can customize all of that stuff I just shared to serve them, their life, where they are. Do they have kids going off to school? Do they have, a very short window if they're entrepreneurs, or are they a 9 to 5? How do we fit in wellness and well-being into their life to make it actually happen? That has been the biggest shift, I think, for us, is to customize it entirely. Otherwise, it can feel a little daunting and you're like, I don't know how to get all these hours in my day. But it's
Seriously. So like this is like a one-stop shop for people.
it really is.
When you mentioned concierge medicine, is that like we can now replace our primary doctor because we can go to BIAN and their medical staff for, if we have a cold or.
Yeah,
Wow.
anything. Yeah,
Okay.
You walk right over. It's super small and it's by design. So, for example, executive physicals with our doctor take could be like 2 hours to be incredibly robust. So
Right.
anything, if you wanted a COVID test or you wanted a flu shot or you needed a form for, your trip or anything, you have direct access to the provider and she has the time. And that is the difference. She's also working with whoever else that you're working with to ensure the care is consistent and everyone's on the same page. So that person's personal trainer might know within reason, right? Like, okay, we're going to avoid these sorts of things for the heart because this is what you're working on with your doctor. So here's how we're going to address it through this lens. So it's really, really deep in terms of where we get, and we see huge changes relatively fast.
Is there also an aesthetic component to this, to be on? There is,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Yeah. So beyond beauty, so we have a whole integrative beauty side. So anything from Botox and fillers to facials. We have Venus and Cutera technologies, really cutting edge. So that all works together as well. And we have different product lines that we're playing with at the moment, clinical and more natural. Um, yeah, it really is. What's so funny is you look out at the lounge and someone is there. They post up in the morning, they are working for a little bit, they go pop into the 30-minute class, they come back, they work, they have a beauty appointment, they get their facial, they say a quick hello to their doctor, they go downstairs, maybe do a steam before the end of their day, get some food to go. And that's the day. And it makes hybrid working even nicer. Or if you're just coming in for one thing, the environment is super nice. So
I
yeah, it's
mean,
fun.
what an incredible time for you to pop up too, right? When now this hybridization has happened where people can actually, go to the spa and the club to work, get their work done while at the same time reaping other benefits. Before I let you go, I have to ask because
Yeah.
this sounds like, this comes at a cost. What are sort of the ranges here for membership and whatnot?
Currently, which we're August of 2022, we're relatively affordable, I would say, for what you get and what I had spoken about with the advisory component. That is complimentary. All of the classes are complimentary, aside from reformer Pilates. Um, and then access is completely there. So everything else is ancillary, but it is at a member benefit. So, for example, our luxury massages, which is by a complete clinical team, are right around 120.
Wow.
So the membership itself, just for wellness membership, we're at 4,000 right now, annual, and then 1,000 for an initiation. So we really wanted to be mindful of how we priced it. We assume it'll go up in time. But yeah, it's the access is there.
I
Yeah.
feel like I was thinking that this was going to be $20,000, $30,000. Now I know obviously you're going to have the a la carte Botox, like you mentioned some of the classes, but even a gym membership, at
Hmm.
least here in New York, with Equinox is like $400 a month. So you're
Yeah.
getting that full concierge wellness, that access, um,
Yeah.
included in that membership for
Yeah.
a very reasonable price. Oh, okay. Can you open one in New York, please? Like
I
tomorrow?
know. I know. Yeah, the membership itself, with the medical membership itself, is actually separate. And we
Okay,
do
gotcha.
medicals memberships only. We do beauty memberships. So
Right.
there's multiple options. But yeah, as of right now, we're still at that founding kind of price. And, you know, someone said it once, and I've kind of kept with it because it's so true. But being in Chicago, being in the heart of the nation, kind of, um, when you really serve one person at a time, what that radiates out to, and that's why the advisory is so deep, that person goes to their family, to their workplace, if they run a company, and they serve it better and
Yeah.
they feel better. And that just radiates out. So, as we look into different cities with different clubs, this will always kind of be where the heartbeat started. And we just hope that it just continues to radiate out and really create some change in this world.
I mean, I think you are coming up at a time when wellness is, is at the forefront of people's minds. It used to be, maybe family, work, whatever, but wellness is really a priority for so many people. And I think we're realizing how important not only physical health is, nutrition, mental health, our outside looks. We want to make sure our inside looks and feels as good as our outside does, and vice versa. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I want to thank you so much for being on with us, Mar. Thank you for sharing the fabulous skincare benefits of yoga, which is always nice to know. If people want to know more about BIÂN, if they want to come and maybe take a session with you, where can they go?
Yeah, so we welcome tours. Come on in. You can go to our website, which is just livebian.com. So live and then BIAN.com. Our Instagram is at livebian as well. Beyond was taken, so we put the live in there. That's why. But yeah, we have our links on there. You can book a tour. You can get in contact with me through there. But yeah, we hope to kind of see everyone. We love sharing what we do. It's really powerful. So yeah, we're excited.
Before I let you go, what is BIÂN? What is the meaning behind?
So we were actually called something else at first. My partners and I were living with this one word, and then after a retreat over in Michigan at one of our partners' lake houses, we were doing kind of a brainstorm session, and I was on my way up there. I met them later, and they said, we have the name. And so it came from an ancient philosophy that means to transform. And so we stuck with it. And yeah, it's a little hard to say, but I think that is kind of the fun of it also.
Oh, I love it. BIAN, BIÂN. I think it's wonderful. And, transforming our lives for the better. Thank you so much for being on with us, Mar.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And if you have questions you want me to pass along to Mar or any of her team over at BIÂN, I'm always happy to do so. You can email me at hello@artbeautypodcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Art Beauty Podcast. And as always, we will see you next Tuesday. And boy, I cannot wait to get out there to Chicago to check out BIÂN.
Get over here. Thank you.
Bye now.